Hi, everybody. My name is Paul Sheriff, and I've been teaching at Tyler for 33 years. About 25 years ago, I actually created the Restaurant Identity exhibition for the junior class. I could have never imagined what it would evolve into and how exciting this class is now. When I was asked to do a video lecture on logo design, this was my first reaction. Oh my God. Oh. But after I got through the devastation of the project, I kind of got excited about it. It was an opportunity to share with you what I know about logos and what I have taught for many years at Tyler. This video will go over the following points. It will discuss the process of how a designer creates a logo. It will discuss research, name generation, and the building process and typographic considerations when creating a logo. It will discuss examples and show works of professional graphic designers' logos and emphasize conceptual creative solutions. And last but not least, maybe my favorite category, it will showcase examples of student work, which I've seen throughout the years, and show a variety of approaches students have used to solve this problem. By the way, there's a lot of information on the internet about logos. All major design companies usually have a section about logos, so you can research it that way. And also AIGA has a resource on their website. Hopefully this will help you out in your process and inspire you to be a more insightful, creative graphic designer. So let's get to it. The first point I'd like to talk about is research. Research your topic thoroughly. Understand the parameters of your company. Research existing companies which are similar and notate what works and what doesn't work. If I were doing a logo, say, for a bike company, because I like to bike, it would really be to my benefit to do as much research as I can. It not only kind of gives me insight in what's out there in the market, it kind of can direct me in styles because part of your quest in positioning your company is having a style that represents what you're trying to do. It really facilitates the process. So a really broad foundation, a really sturdy foundation is going to really give you a better logo. The next point I'd like to address is name generations. Specifically position your company with a creative name. Spend some time on this. This is a great time to get together with other designers, friends, people that know a little bit about what you're designing or what your company is about. They don't necessarily have to be graphic designers, but they do have to know what the company is about, and just talk and generate names. I had a great opportunity to do this with Campbell Soup several years ago when I was doing pilot food packaging projects. And I found it a lot more successful when I worked with a group of people. And that was good because we generated a lot of ideas. A lot of those ideas were bad ideas. A lot of those ideas got thrown out, but a few were really good ideas. And those were the ones we went with. In regards to this project, let's talk about, you're going to have a food service company called Italian Bistro to go. Don't do it. That is just not very good. And why? It's because it's really common. We've seen Italian Bistro, Olive Garden, we've seen all that a million times. And if you have a common name, you'll probably generate a kind of common logo, which will have the same problem. Sometimes reappropriating a word for the name of a project can really work well. Last year, I had a student in sophomore design, I believe his name was Colin, who was doing a food delivery service that dogs delivered the food, which is a great identity. And so he came up with the name Fetch with a tagline which said doggy delivery 1 bark away. Well, I thought that was really good. And the reason why is because the obvious doggy word might be something like a name of a dog like Fido or Rover. But that would have just not been as good. And so I think, again, really try to come up with a name that is unique and has some value on its own. Sometimes using words that are foreign but well known is a good angle also. For example, pronto is not only a greeting in Italian, but it implies a kind of a quick response. So what what is this getting at? What I'm trying to emphasize more than anything else is that the name generation is a very important component of your identity. The third point that I'd like to discuss is generating ideas. Sketch a plethora of ideas. I like that word, plethora. Pretty good, eh? These ideas want to not only solve the logo problem, but solve it within the parameters of your identity. Be conceptual with your sketches and consider visual metaphors. I think we've all done this. We did it in sophomore year, and you have to find your own method for this. But multiple ideas and directions are really very important. I often suggest for my students to use markers, because they already kind of have a logo sensitivity to them. And you can't overdo this. I mean, the more you generate, the better they're going to be. You know, when I'm doing a logo, I generate a lot of ideas, and I think some of them are pretty good, and then I generate more, and I think, oh, those weren't very good at all. So again, the more you do on the front end, the better the back end is going to be. Point number 4 is literally understanding a logo. How to create what makes a good logo. A mark has to be responsive, to be appropriate to print, web, and be used in UX, UI. Traditional logos are created by manipulating line and mass. The combinations of those two components are totally endless. Some marks are more illustrative in origins, but traditional logos, which we're going to go over, really have a more graphic component to them. And again, the idea is that they have to have strength when they're small, just as equally as when they're large. And they need to have clarity when they're used on a business card, or clarity when they're used as a billboard, the same kind of thing. I would like to go over a couple designers now that I really have followed and have inspired me quite a bit. The first person I'd like to go over is Charles Spencer Anderson. I like this website so much. It's pretty interesting. It says, and this really goes perfect with what I'm talking about, a logo is a singular visual statement that defines the look, feel, and the tone of the company's corporate or brand identity. An effective mark should communicate a real, relatable, and instantly identifiable message about a brand, product, or firm. We believe that the best logos should always be simple, distinct, memorable, reducible, reproducible, appropriate, and above all, timeless. And he certainly does do that. There's no question about that. I could do the whole lecture today on just how good his logos are. So we can go through a couple of these because they're so strong. I want to start right now with the Nike series that he did. Again, you can see the Nike swoosh in all these, the Nike swoosh, I said swoosh, in all these athletes. And again, if you look at the fundamentals of the logo, they work with both line and mask. He uses a lot of negative and positive when he designs, which is kind of a traditional, historically traditional way of designing a logo. But I do want to go over too logos like the Hollywood Paramount products. This is a kind of a interesting line quality that he uses. And a lot of this is from found logos that he found from the 40s and 50s. And they don't look like they're done with a pen tool. They specifically have their own kind of nostalgic look because of the interesting line quality. Also, I think that with his logos, you can really observe how to use good typography, how to use multiple fonts, and how to position the logo so it's very clear and understandable. Halifax is a pretty interesting logo too. I like this logo not only because it has the H and the butterfly for a healthcare system, but when he goes into using the logo, he comes up with a lot of very interesting ways of presenting the brand. And that's something you'll also be doing in your identity, is carrying the brand through a line, whether it's food packaging, bags, logos, billboards, however you're positioning your company. So again, this website has just so much to take a look at and so many excellent examples that you could just pretty much spend all day on this website to take a look at what he's done. One of my favorite logos that he has here is the Turner Classic Movies, and I'd like to go into that. Again, the way he designed these logos, these are literally images that he found, and he reappropriated them. And I believe the way he did a lot of them was he just Xeroxed and Xeroxed and Xeroxed them, and then all of a sudden the line started breaking down. And so that he had really nice, strong black mass, white mass. And again, you can see how reproducible these logos are. You can also take a look at how nice the type works. Something that I frequently talk to my students about is doing something special for the main type in a logo. So here he has that great inline, but it could be a small drop, it could be a texture, it could be many things, but that's something that you might want to explore. Each one of these are just so unique, and there's a whole series of these that kind of show off the whole list of characters. And you might want to read over to the left about how Ted Turner responded to these multiple logos. Again, showing collateral material, showing how he reappropriates the mark across the line. And that's something that's really important, that you come up with a system for that. And he does that so well. He uses packaging in this also, which was very successful, still keeping the same equity of the brand. That's truly one of my favorite marks that he's done. I might go over just a couple more. Again, some classic ideas when you're addressing logo, and that is negative and positive. Notice how this bear, the box is white, but the bear is black, but they both read as positive. So they call that foreground, background interplay. And that's another classic way of considering a logo. Remember, if you look at all these logos, there's no small little lines, okay? There's no small minutia. It really doesn't address that. It addresses strength of mass and line. And frequently, when you present logos, I always, when I'm for a client, I present one very small to show the client exactly how it can reduce. I would say another great thing, another great component is a better word of this website, is going up and seeing not just the logos, but the identity systems. So that's really quite nice. And again, I want to go back to the Halifax one because I thought that was so strong on how he incorporated this pattern. And a lot of you will be using patterns to enhance your product or line. And you can see different color palettes. Choosing a color palette is extremely important. We'll get to that later in this small little presentation. Go up here a little bit. I think I will go over this one more time also, just because of looking again at color. And that is something I was going to address later on, but we might as well look at it now. because coming up with a system for your color is going to be equally important. And I believe he did this so well in this project. The next person I'd like to go over is Woody Purtle. I just can't say enough about how brilliant this guy is as a designer. I've been a big fan for so many years. I guess the thing I'd like to go over more than anything else is how he uses the mark in classic ways. This is a traditional logo, obviously using the negative and positive, which we talked about in Spencer Anderson's work. And it's just really brilliant. He's smart, conceptual. This F for film, it's like the clapboard. Again, simple, reducible, very smart. I like all these marks. The Dallas Opera, we got a D, we got an O. How brilliant can Woody Purtle be? Again, the idea that this was drafted, okay, probably with a pen tool, but the idea is how beautiful it is with the relationship of mask to line. Not all logos have to be sterile. This flying fish logo, I mean, look at the fun line quality. It almost has a James Victoria line quality to it, and obviously very reducible. We have, this is one of my favorite logos, and has always been one of my favorite logos just because of how smart it is. And seeing that word hair in there for a beauty salon is just a little too smart. I think that's, in my opinion, that's Woody's biggest problem. He's just a little too smart. Sometimes logos are silhouettes. And so I'm looking at this logo and just how that is such a sweet mark and very reducible also. I think it's important to think about type. Some logos are more type oriented and not mark oriented, but readability is the big issue. How did they read? And I guess the idea is simplicity is always kind of a good way of handling it. Again, so this is Woody Purtle. You know, just going over this, being an Eagle Scout myself, I really enjoy that logo. Regretfully, when I was a Scout, this logo didn't exist. Or I might have gotten into graphic design a little sooner. Again, these are just marks, and they're quite sweet. I would like to also just look at, if I look at his homepage, selected works, let's see. The way he thinks about design, and this is also the same thing with Charles Spencer Anderson, it's not, they think about design in the same way they think about logos. They want clarity. They want they don't want to be over designed. And also, I just think if you look at these three logos together, how different each one of them is, and they're all so successful. Also successful in this. I really enjoy this Garde Arts because I like the applications. And if you see the system for the stationery below, how fun it is and how non-static it is. You can also see that it has such a contemporary feel to it. So I think that those are really exceptional. So Woody Purtle, again, would be someone that I would definitely take a look at and examine how he thinks about logos. Once you have honed on to a specific logo, do numerous iterations of the mark. Do numerous type options and numerous type mark orientations. Always keep in mind the parameters of your company when you're choosing a typeface. Remember, and this is, I love saying this, you can create a fantastic logo with a strong typographic solution, and it can be totally inappropriate for your company. I thought now would be kind of a fun time to show you some stuff that I did, logos I did for the Philadelphia Zoo, because it really talks about research, iteration, exploring type, exploring symbol, exploring borders. So I want to show you kind of how I did the presentation. Presentation had multiple choices. All were in the parameters of the assignment. And I showed the client the logos, both large and small, so they could get an idea on reducibility. This is actually a version of the logo they went with, but you can see that I showed it multiple ways. I showed it with a more Victorian border, a simpler border, plainer border, and one that possibly was a little bit more unique. One that I liked was this design here. I saw a logo that I was really inspired by in France, and that's where I picked that up. But I did try multiple iterations. I tried more modern looks or more contemporary looks. I chose different fonts, and I just kind of stayed within the parameters, and I hope you like the zoo presentation. And last but not least, after you have everything done, then it's time to explore your mark and your type, the colors that we're using, okay? By the way, almost all students, when they start addressing a final logo, they always come in with the type in black, which, you know, is just a common way of handling a problem, but not necessarily the best way of handling the problem. So explore some great color solutions, and please go back and look again at Charles Spencer Anderson and Woody Purtle, because those two guys are going to really help you along in your logo and color exploration. Now I'd like to go over some really fun stuff, and those are existing logos that have been done in the past. So I'm going to start with these three logos because I really like them. Now, and again, I just want to remind you that these are kind of classic logos. The way I look at a logo, you have a background, you have a foreground, you have that kind of exchange, and they're all very conceptual. The Junct was for kind of a restaurant where it was in like a flea market. We've got Bar 12, and you can see that nice little martini glass in there. Zodiac, cocktails, you know, 12 months a year, Zodiac, you got it. And VVQ, classic with that plant growing up in there. I'm not sure I was sharing that or not. I think that this was actually a video. Let me try it. Yeah, it was. So everything I just talked about, we're looking at now. Really liked the texture on that last logo. I thought that was extremely strong mark. Now I'd like to go over another set of logos, which I find very interesting. So these are kind of classic logos. Nashville's great. Again, using that boot and having that kind of a flame coming out the back. State Penitentiary, again, look at the line quality, great type. I thought that was really successful. Choo Choo, I like that. Again, incorporate something about eating. We've got a fork in there, which could be important. And Biz Bites is some sort of internet place, just brilliant little logos, without a doubt. Again, logos can have a more illustrative quality to them, but take a look at the weight of that. I think something simple like the wood socks seem to work really well. And that's that set. This next set of videos is pretty interesting because anyone who knows me or has had me knows that I really like dot screens. So this is what I call the dot screen or engraving set of logos, and I think they're really strong. So again, it still plays with mass, but the white is very strong. This is from an engraving. A lot of people use engravings for logos, and they kind of burn out the white areas. This was not in the set. I don't know how it got there. It's just such a beautiful logo. I probably had to use it. This is a perfect dot screen for slim pickings. It's an urban dumpster diner. And another beautiful line. This is taken from an engraving for a vine and a fork. It was just quite nice. So the last group of logos, I'm a little hesitant to go into because they are good. Okay, this is a very good logo. Okay, but the line weight is works well. I thought this was kind of a creative way of handling the logo also. Some of them are a little on the weaker side. When they reproduce, they're not going to be quite as strong. So I think you have to be very careful about that. However, this is very good, and it's an illustrated logo with line. This is a little fussy for me. I think color-wise, I'm not sure how it would reduce, but I think it's a really strong mark. I think the type is extremely strong. And I think this had the same kind of feeling, that there was a creativity, which is not necessarily what I consider a classic logo. I thought this was a great idea. I'm not sure how good it's going to hold up because of the line quality. So I'm a little leery of those logos in some respects, specifically when we compare them to the logos that Woody Purtle does and Charles Spencer Anderson. But again, I think there's room for a lot of different ways of solving problems, and it kind of, you have to play into your strengths, I do believe. So that concludes the presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you most of all learned something from it. And I hope you can go back and look at it a few times and forgive all the errors that I made when I was speaking. I think there was one glitch with something wrong, but anyway, man is imperfect. Just remember that. But anyway, I can't wait to work with you this semester and the rest of your time at Tyler. Hang in there in this COVID-19 period, and really, really, I sincerely mean that. Great luck with this project.